Hey everybody, this is Rycard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Movesets video. Today's video is going to be all about Carnivine, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, ability, and stats. So to start things off, Carnivine is a Grass-type Pokemon introduced in a Generation 4 that only has access to one ability, but a good ability at that, which is that of Levitate, which allows this Pokemon to hover over the battlefield, giving it an immunity to ground-type attacks, while also allowing it to not take any damage from spikes when it switches in or get poisoned by toxic spikes, which is actually a utility that is even more useful now than it has been. But for its stats, this Pokemon has some pretty average defenses all around, with base 74 HP, 72 defense, and 72 special defense, which does allow this Pokemon the opportunity to possibly specialize in one defense stat if you would like to, but at the cost of obviously not allowing it to really take hits from the other defense stat at the same time. But offensively, this Pokemon has a great base 100 physical attack, and also a really nice base 90 special attack, allowing it to run both physical attacking and special attacking sets pretty effectively. However, its speed stat is only base 46, which is fairly slow and will make Carnivine one of the slower Pokemon on your team without much investment into that stat as far as EVs are concerned. But with that, let's take a look at the first moveset that I have for you in this video. So for this first moveset, we're going to run Carnivine in a way that takes advantage of one of the new tools that it has access to in Ultra Sun and Moon, which is that of Defog. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either a Jolly Nature to increase its speed but lower its special attack, or a Timid Nature to increase its speed but lower its physical attack, depending on your move choices, and then going with an EV spread of 252 HP, 4 special defense, and 252 speed EVs to max out its HP stat, giving it more bulk, and its speed stat, making it significantly faster. And while this Pokemon won't necessarily be a sweeper on this type of set because we are, using Carnivine, which doesn't have a crazy fast speed stat as mentioned before, these speed EVs will actually allow this Pokemon to use this set more effectively, as it will be able to outspeed more things than it normally would be able to, possibly putting them to sleep with the first fill in the set, Sleep Powder, and also getting a defog off before your opponent is able to take you out. And this is important to note because while this Pokemon, as I mentioned before, can invest into a defensive stat to be quite bulky on either the physical or special side, running a lot of speed allows this set to outpace things and be able to attack first before, which allows you the opportunity to not even have to take a hit if you are faster than your opponent, which allows this set to match up really well against opposing walls or non-offensive Pokemon that you're going to be running into that you can get a free defog or sleep status on. But in addition to those two moves, we're going to be running either Power Whip or Giga Drain as your main stab grass-type attack on the set. Power Whip if you go with the Jolly Nature because it'll be a physical attack, and Giga Drain if you go with the Timid Nature because it's a special attack that also has the added utility of recovering some health, which is very useful for allowing this Pokemon to have a little bit more sustain. But for the last move slot, we can either go with Knockoff to give you that useful utility in being able to remove items while also having a pretty powerful Dark-type move to make use of, Synthesis as a way to recover HP, giving this Pokemon a little bit more sustainability in the battle, or running a secondary powder on the set, which is that of Stun Spore, to allow this Pokemon actually the ability to cripple opponents by paralyzing them. And this is particularly noteworthy because, as far as I'm aware, Carnivine is one of the only Pokemon that has access to both Defog and a way of putting things to sleep and a way of paralyzing them, which makes it very unique in this role because it is really one of the only Pokemon that can do this. So keep that in mind when using this guy, because even though he's kind of an NU, PU Pokemon, he does have quite an interesting mix of moves that not a lot of other Pokemon have access to. But for the item on the set, we're going to be going with Leftovers to allow this Pokemon to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. Now, if you would like to run a little bit more of a bulky version of the set, I would highly recommend running it physically defensive, which is what I'm going to show right here. So by changing up our nature to be either Impish to increase our physical defense but lower our special attack, or Bold to increase our physical defense but lower our physical attack, and giving us an EV spread of 216 HP EVs, 252 physical defense EVs, and putting the remainder 40 EVs in your speed stat to allow you to outspeed base 50 speed Pokemon you fall just short of outspeeding with your base 46 speed, you actually allow this Pokemon to have a little bit more of a tanky role on the physical side, which can allow it to survive hits a little bit better, not necessarily being faster than other things though, like on the previous variant of the set. But I have found in the past that running specially defensive isn't really as effective than running physically defensive on Pokemon like this, so this would be the other recommended way to run a Defog Support set on Carnivine. As for this next moveset, we're going to be running Carnivine physically offensive. So we're going to start this one off by giving it an Adamant Nature to increase its physical attack but lower its special attack, and running an EV spread of 136 HP EVs, 252 physical attack EVs to max that out, and then putting the remainder 120 EVs into its speed stat, which is going to give Carnivine a pretty significant speed boost and allow it to outspeed base 60 speed Pokemon with no investment, which is a pretty common speed tier that you actually might run into in many battles. But for the item on the set, we're going to be either going with leftovers like before for that recovery at the end of every turn, or running a Life Orb on this set to give this Pokemon a little bit more damage output, as this will be increasing the damage of all of our attacks at the cost of losing 10% of our health every time we damage our opponents. But for the first move on the set, again we're going to be running Sleep Powder, as the sleep utility that Carnivine gets is so useful, and sleep is one of the best statuses in the game obviously because it just prevents your opponent from attacking, which will also then give Carnivine a free turn to set up, either through the use of Substitute to get behind a protective barrier to shield you from attacks and statuses, or Swords Dance as a way to allow this Pokemon to boost its physical attack by 2 stages and be more threatening on the battlefield. But either way, with your second move choice, we're going to be running Power Whip as our main stab grass type physical attack, and then also running Knock Off on the set to give this Pokemon a powerful dark type move that will also have that utility of being able to remove items from its opponents. But these two moves in combination with each other do really give quite a bit of coverage, and behind a sub and with the additional benefit of being able to possibly put stuff to sleep, this set can be very effective, and I have been using this particular set on Carnivine since 4th gen, with the exception of running Crunch instead of Knockoff, because back then Knockoff wasn't as good as it is now. And I have found this to be possibly one of the most effective ways of running a physically attacking Carnivine in my time. As for this next moveset, we're going to be running Carnivine Specially Offensive, which is a set that it can actually now do even more effectively than previously because of a new move that it now has access to. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a Modest Nature to increase its special attack but lower its physical attack, and then running 136 HP EVs, 252 special attack EVs to max that out, and putting the remainder 120 EVs into its speed stat like before to allow it to outspeed base 60 speed Pokemon. And for the item, just like on the physical set, we can either run Leftovers or a Life Orb. As for the moves though, again, our first move of choice is going to be Sleep Powder, as the utility is just so useful that it's really hard not to want to run this on any set for this Pokemon, because putting stuff to sleep is always really beneficial. But on this set, our main stab grass type attack is going to be Giga Drain for that recovery that it will be providing us, as well as just being a powerful grass type move in general. Then we're going to run either Hidden Power Fire or Hidden Power Ground to give this Pokemon a powerful attack that will allow it an easy way of damaging opposing steel types that will be resisting your grass type stab. And also running Hidden Power Fire and Ground just gives you really great coverage overall in combination with Giga Drain, so it'll allow you to hit a lot of things at least for neutral damage. But for the last move on the set, we now have access to the move Acid Spray as of recent, which is a great boon for Carnivine, as it will allow this Pokemon a way of reliably lowering its opponent's special defense by 2 stages, and thus allow it to do even more damage with its special attacks. And if you would rather not use this, though, you could just go with Sludge Bomb, which does give you a powerful poison type move with a chance to poison your opponents, but Acid Spray helps this set out a lot more, but I wanted to give you both options, because when your opponent does have the lowered special defense, you actually will then deal even more damage with stuff like Giga Drain and your Hidden Power Fire or Ground, which will then potentially turn into a free KO on an opponent that you normally wouldn't be able to take out, or even more recovery if you're using Giga Drain against your opponent, because they will have that reduced defense stat, which helps out so much and allows this set to be very effective as a special attacker. Finally, for the last moveset of this video, I have a Stockpile set for Carnivine to make use of, which I will admit is kind of gimmicky, but it can work. So we're going to start this one off by giving it an Impish Nature to increase its physical defense but lower its special attack, and then going with an EV spread of 252 HP EVs, 88 defense EVs, and 168 special defense EVs to give it a mixed defensive spread, and then running Leftovers on the set to allow it to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But for the first move on this set, we're going to be going with Stockpile, which when used 3 times will be increasing our physical defense and our special defense by 1 stage each time to a maximum of +3 in both stats, allowing this Pokemon to be significantly more tanky and able to take hits from its opponents. Then we're going to be running 1 attacking move, either in the form of Power Whip for a powerful grass type stab attack, or Knockoff, just because it's a great option and can allow this Pokemon a little bit more of an easier time possibly stalling out its opponents, which is what this set is designed to do, primarily through the use of Toxic to poison its opponents and slowly wear down their HP at the end of every turn in increasing amounts, which is why Knockoff can be great because it can get rid of Leftovers recovery on your opponents if they happen to have that item. But for the last move on the set, We're either going to run Rest as a way to obviously heal up to full and get rid of any statuses that we have been inflicted with, while also then being asleep for 2 turns, which is a little bit of a bummer. Or we can run Synthesis on the set to have this Pokemon to have a more reliable recovery option that won't be putting us to sleep, but we will have to then deal with the fact that we will have no way of removing a status that we have been inflicted with, which does allow this set to be a little bit susceptible to Toxic Stalling from its opponents as well. But overall, with the boosted defenses that you get from Stockpile, and the utility that you can get from Knockoff and stalling things out with Toxic, this set on Carnivine can prove to be a very difficult thing for your opponents to deal with, because they're going to have to find a very powerful move to take out this Pokemon once it's acquired these Stockpile boosts. But anyways everybody, that is it for this video on Carnivine, a Pokemon that many of you probably forgot even existed before I made this video. But as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.